Hey, Mr. Hefferney here, part 3 with energy storage solutions. So the big issue with renewable energy is what do you do when the wind's not blowing? What do you do when it's dark? How do you get energy, right? So that's when solar and wind might have some problems. So that's the main reason we haven't switched completely to renewables and decarbonized is we need baseload power, and that's what natural gas is supposed to do. But we don't want blackouts and brownouts. But then, how are we supposed to fix this? That we're not using carbon anymore, right? So that's where there's a bunch of companies now have been working on that problem. So here, let's just take a look at this. So one of the things people have been doing is using lithium batteries. If you take a look at the cost of lithium batteries, it's been going down a lot. In 2010, you can see the price scales here. It's gone down, 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 down. So by 2018, lithium batteries are getting close to about 1/8 of what they used to be back in 2010. So in 8 years, it's dropped to 1/8 the price. So that's great. They're getting more economical. One of the reasons for that is they're trying to switch away from lithium and other materials to cheaper things like nickel, and so that's what they're doing. So you got these places now, more places where you can charge your car if you have an electric car. You can get things like a power wall for your home if you want to store energy to use at night. And there's just a lot of technology going into lithium. One of the problems, though, also is a lot of the materials we need for cell phones, lithium batteries, etc., come from countries where they do exploit children for slave labor. So we gotta do something about that. All right. Hydrogen fuel cells have been competing with lithium a little bit. They're about 10 years behind in technology, though, but they're catching up a bit. They were used in 2010 for fork trucks, so instead of using propane, 10 times less dangerous if there's an explosion, remote communication systems, submarines, etc. But now they're being used finally for heavy trucks and cars, especially for heavy trucks because they can go longer than a lithium battery and for long distances. But when it comes to cars, lithium looks like it's still winning. So hydrogen fuel cells require something used reverse osmosis. And the other cool thing about a hydrogen fuel cell is a filling station kind of looks like an old-fashioned gas station. And instead of taking minimum 5 minutes or a half an hour to charge your battery, you can charge up your fuel cell just as quickly as gasoline would in a gas station. So here's a good graphic if you want to compare the two vehicles, hydrogen fuel cells versus batteries. One of the companies is Nikola, and another one's Tesla for batteries. And which is funny because Nikola Tesla was one of the originators of alternating current electricity in our grids here in North America. Then another option is capacitors. Capacitors are very old technology. They're similar to a battery. They can store a charge for a long period of time. And they are used in some places like memory backup computers, instantaneous power, energy storage, USBs, universal backup systems for computers, etc. And they're coming along too, but I don't think they're going to catch up to lithium-ion batteries or fuel cells. Then you got another option is something called nitrogen and air pipelines. So since 1910, people have known about the Haber process. That'll actually allow World War I to last for 4 years because the Germans didn't have to worry about running out of nitrogen to make their explosives. It can be made using renewable energy, so you can use the Haber process and make nitrogen. Or more easily, you can just use a compressed air energy system. And air is like, it's like 78% nitrogen, I believe. So in that case, what you do is during the day, you divert some of your wind power or solar power to compressing air in compressed air tubes like this. And then at night, you can release the air through your generators and make electricity when it is dark or when there is no wind. So it's a good backup solution. And yeah, what happens if someone accidentally runs into a vat of compressed air? Well, yeah, it's not that dangerous compared to if you had gasoline or natural gas in there. Okay, another option is high water storage systems. So for example, Loch Ness here, where the sea monster supposedly is located, what they do is during the day, they divert some of the renewable energy to pumping water to the top. So you can do this if you have a mountain with an old volcano or whatever, or you can build a giant pool, man-made pool at the top of a mountain, and that stores the water. And then at night, when the wind power or the solar is not working, then you can release the water and use a hydroelectric dam technology. So it's pretty easy. So that's another way of doing it. Or if you don't have access to mountains, you can use just water towers, like this situation right here. Or in some places, what you can do is you can actually put the water into a mine, and you can use it to push up a heavy object, and then the heavy object would sink at night, and pushing the water through turbines. So that's another option as well. All great options. Okay, other water storage options. This one's kind of cool. You put these concrete spheres or other objects in the bottom of a lake or an ocean, a seabed, and during the day, instead of pumping water to a high location, you pump water out of the sphere, and then at night, you when you no longer have access to sunlight, or maybe the wind stops blowing, then you allow the ocean to slowly pour back into the evacuated sphere, and you run that through turbines to make electricity. Pretty cool. Here's another option too. You can build a big giant seawall, pump the water into the seawall, over the seawall during the day, and then at night you can slowly release it, just like you would with our hydroelectric dam. Pretty cool. Okay, another option is using spring or elastic energy, like a flywheel. So here's the NASA flywheel system right here, and here's an old-fashioned flywheel. So what you do is during the day, divert some of the energy to basically winding up the flywheel. And then at night, when you run out of sunlight, you just release the flywheel and you slowly use that to generate electricity. And here's another one, solid mass gravitational. It can be up to 85% efficient, so it's not too bad. So during the day, you divert some of your renewable energy to raising it to a high altitude, or pushing a piston down into a watery area, or in this case, pulling heavy objects up the side of a pyramid, and then all you have to do is release it when you want to at night when there's no more sunlight, and you can use that to turn a turbine. Abandoned mines, great place for that. So here's another one here, artificial trees with universal carbon fuel. So David Keith, Canadian, had written some papers about how we can use artificial trees to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere while we're still busy planting trees. This is something we can do in the meantime. From what I read last year in 2020, if you planted like a couple trillion trees, we could solve global warming. That's a lot of trees. So what they've come up with, this new company now, is you have these artificial trees in a bank of trees right here, artificial trees. They suck in the air, take the carbon dioxide out, and then you turn it into a universal fuel that you can use for airplanes, cars, you name it. When the airplanes and cars burn, it just goes back in the atmosphere, and then eventually these artificial trees pick it up again, and we just keep reusing the same carbon all the time. We don't have to worry about getting more out of the ground. It's great. I forgot to mention, they got some huge boost of funding in 2009 from the Gates Foundation for this. So here's a list of some energy storage solutions I found on Wikipedia. You got your spring and compressed air solutions, CAES. Spring would be more like the flywheel. If you want to download this note, you can click on all these different technologies and find out more about it. Supercapacitors and ultracapacitors. Magnetic storage systems, SMES. I didn't include that one in this. Turning carbon into something like biological that you can use later. You've got thermal, like brick storage, cryogenic systems, pretty cool. literally, and you can look these things up and see what they are. And then making fuels, and all sorts of technologies. It's really cool. So here's a list. Download the note, click on this list, and you can check out the different technologies available. Here's the top 42 42 startup energy solution companies that I found just here in January 2021. Bloom Energy, $827 million so far. STEM, Zenobe, Solar Reserve, etc. Some of them are doing lithium-ion batteries. Some are doing flywheel technology. Some of them are doing those compressed air systems. All sorts of different technologies being done. Some mixing AI with renewable as well to make it more efficient. You can see there's some Canadian companies like Hydrostar, and let's see, there's another Canadian company, Stash Energy, which uses heat pump technology to store energy. Pretty cool. And Corvus doing lithium batteries in Canada. So you can see all sorts of different countries around the world. The U.S. definitely leading in the fight to make energy storage solutions. So with all these companies coming out with their new scalable technology, we are going to have what we need to store renewable energy. Pretty cool. Oops, summary here. Summary. So besides big oil lobbying against action to mitigate against climate change, the main hurdle has been energy storage solutions for renewable energy. What do you do when the sun's not out? What do you do when the wind's not blowing? You got to do something, right? So luckily that technology has been developed, and it's becoming affordable and usable as we scale up and more of these companies come out. It's the great thing about capitalism. You get all these great companies competing, prices are dropping, supply and demand economics. It's just awesome. So now the larger oil companies are actually expanding into renewable energy and energy storage solutions. They see the writing on the wall. They're getting into it, especially with peak oil having been reached at this point. And it looks like we're heading for a sustainable future, which is great. Unfortunately, it is a little too late to avoid some major effects of climate change, but hopefully we do avoid the worst. And here's some good fear-mongering pictures down here, like, flood the earth. No more polar bears. Oh no, we turned into Mars. Oh, we flooded again. Oh, Mars again. There we go. So, as you can see, it's a little bit of fear-mongering, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't get that bad. All right. Hope this has been an informative video for you. Thank you.